Welcome to Seth's Sleep Sanctuary, and to the beginning of the softest story you may ever hear. Hi, I'm Seth, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're in bed right now, curled under your favorite blanket, or just beginning to slow down after a long day, you've found your way to a place where nothing is urgent and everything is gentle. Here, the only thing that matters is your comfort, your stillness, your soft return to rest. And I want you to know something important, something that took me years to understand. You don't have to earn your sleep. You don't have to chase it. You don't even have to try hard. You just need to be invited into it. And that's what this story is. The ancient trick that changed my sleep forever isn't about hacks or habits. It's a journey, a slow walk through a village where people remember how to breathe again, a place where sleep is sacred and stillness is shared. And as you listen, you'll meet gentle guides, whispered rituals, and cozy scenes that unfold like warm fabric around your spirit. There are no cliffhangers here, no twists, no rush, just soft steps, and the promise that the deeper you go, the lighter you'll feel. So, let go now. You've done enough for today. Let this be your permission to surrender, to soften, to melt slowly into the comfort that's already waiting. I'll be right here with you, through every breath, every chapter, every quiet dream. Welcome to the beginning of rest. Welcome to Seth's Sleep Sanctuary. And welcome to sleep. I never used to sleep well. The nights stretched like endless creased sheets, full of tossing, turning, worrying, counting time instead of sheep. My room would be perfectly quiet, but somehow my mind would be louder than the world outside. If you've ever lain in bed watching the ceiling, wondering how the stillness of night can be so noisy inside your head, then you understand. That was me, every night. But one evening, deep in a forgotten part of the world, I found an ancient trick. Something so simple, so calming, and so profoundly cozy, it changed everything about how I sleep. Let me take you there. Just close your eyes, breathe softly, and let me guide you. It all began in a sleepy hillside village, nestled where two rivers quietly embraced in the folds of a lush green valley. The air smelled of damp earth, cinnamon wood smoke, and wildflowers, jasmine mostly, drifting down from the cliffs above. The village was called Lomu, and it didn't appear on any modern map. I arrived just before dusk, the sky melting into warm marmalade tones above the rooftops of clay and thatch. My feet were tired from walking. My backpack, slightly crooked, carried books and tea and a tiny linen pillow that never helped me sleep. I had come here seeking peace, nothing more. I didn't expect to find it in the arms of an ancient tree. An elder named Maari welcomed me at the village's edge. She wore a wrap made of woven indigo and pale gold threads, and her eyes had the sparkle of moonlight and memory. "You've come," she said, not asking, but knowing. "The one who walks restlessly. Come, let the tree listen to your story." The tree? She led me down a narrow path paved with flat river stones and overgrown herbs. Lavender, sage, creeping mint. Birds chirped softly from the hedges as the sun began to fold into the hills. We reached the heart of the village, where a great banyan tree stood, ancient and full of presence. Its roots curled above the earth like sleeping serpents, and its massive branches held a canopy so wide that it shaded an entire courtyard. The villagers had built low wooden benches around its base, and in the evening they gathered there, knitting, drinking tea, humming lullabies. Mari smiled. This tree is old enough to remember the first whisper of the wind. It holds the trick you need. All you must do is listen. That night, I returned to the tree alone. The stars had taken their places in the sky, scattered like glowing seeds across soft navy velvet. A few candles flickered in the doorways around the courtyard, and the sounds of the village had quieted into distant, contented sighs. I sat on a bench beneath the banyan tree, pulled my shawl around my shoulders, and waited. Then I heard it. A breeze stirred gently through the leaves, and with it came a sound so subtle, so rhythmic and slow, it felt more like a breath than a voice. The tree was whispering, not in words, not in language, but in feeling. A hush, a hum, a warm wave of memory and softness. And as I listened, truly listened, I felt my body begin to melt into the bench. My shoulders relaxed, my jaw unclenched. My mind stopped running just for a moment. The banyan tree was sharing its ancient secret. The world is still. You are safe. It is time to rest. I returned every night, and each time the whisper grew clearer. I began to mirror the rhythm of the wind in the leaves. I matched my breath to it, slow, low, and gentle. Inhale through the nose, exhale longer, slower through the mouth, like a sigh you've been holding all day. Mari told me, that's the trick, not just the breathing, the listening. When you listen like the tree listens, your body remembers how to sleep. I asked her if it was magic. She laughed, and the sound reminded me of a stream over pebbles. Only the kind of magic that's older than stories, the magic of returning. Returning? To stillness, she said, to slowness, to silence. The ancient trick is not something you do, Seth. It's something you allow. You allow the world to soften you. You allow rest to find you. So that's what I did. Each night, under that wide, wise tree, I practiced the ancient trick. Not in a complicated way. No mantras, no counting. Just this. Sit still. Let the day fall off your shoulders like a heavy coat. Breathe. Slowly, warmly. Listen. Let the wind guide your breath. Let the tree hold your thoughts. And after a few nights, the change began. My sleep didn't arrive all at once, but it arrived more deeply. I woke up softer, happier. My dreams became gentle things, like lazy rivers or floating clouds. And now, every time I lie down to sleep, no matter where I am, I bring that banyan tree with me, in my breath, in my body, in the whisper of stillness I carry in my chest. So, my friend, if you're listening to this as you prepare for bed, let me leave you with the beginning of your own ancient trick. Close your eyes, take a deep, warm breath in, and let it go. Feel your body in the bed, soft, safe, supported. Now, listen. Can you hear it? Not the hum of your room or the cars in the distance. Deeper than that. The whisper. The one that lives inside the leaves, the sky, and the breath of old trees. That's where sleep begins. Not with a command, but with an invitation. Tonight, you are invited to be still, to feel cozy, to be gently held by the world, and to rest. If Chapter 1 was the whisper, Chapter 2 is the glow. Because while the banyan tree taught me stillness, the villagers of Lomu showed me something else. Something soft and glowing and deeply magical. They showed me how to prepare for sleep like it was a sacred ritual, not just a routine. It began on a chilly evening, maybe the 5th or 6th night of my stay. I remember the sky clearly. It was the kind of deep lavender blue that seems to hum with quiet. The stars hadn't yet appeared, but the day had certainly vanished. The world was holding its breath. I had just finished my evening walk, a slow, winding trail past the herb gardens and the gentle river that curled around the base of the village. I remember watching a frog sit silently on a lily leaf, not even flinching at the cool breeze. That kind of stillness was beginning to settle in me, too. As I approached the banyan courtyard, something new was waiting. Dozens of tiny lanterns had been placed around the tree. They hung from the lower branches, floated in small clay bowls along the benches, and sat gently on the steps of every nearby home. Their light was not bright. No, it was the kind of soft glow that doesn't wake you. It welcomes you. Warm amber and honey gold, like candlelight passed through silk. I stood there for a long moment, just breathing it in. And then Maari appeared again, holding a small lantern of her own. "You've walked in time," she said softly, smiling as if she'd been expecting me. "Tonight, we light the sleep lanterns. Would you like to make your own?" We sat together in a quiet corner of the courtyard, where a woven mat had been laid out, scattered with little bowls, oils, pieces of cloth, and tiny glass jars. I thought the lanterns might use fire, but Mari shook her head gently. "No flames," she whispered, "only memory and scent. This kind of light glows inside." She handed me a small jar filled with what looked like coarse white salt, but as I leaned closer, the scent drifted up into my nose. Lavender, orange blossom, cedar wood, and something else I couldn't place. It was earthy, comforting, like rain on dry leaves. "This is dream salt," she explained. "We grind it from stones that sleep beneath the banyan tree. Every handful carries the memory of rest." I smiled, not sure whether to believe it, but then again, I had already stopped needing proof. In Lomu, truth wasn't about logic. It was about feeling. Mari showed me how to layer the salts with herbs, chamomile petals, crushed rose, mint, and drops of scented oil. Each person's lantern, she said, was different. No two dream mixes were ever the same. Mine smelled like late summer. When I sealed the jar, she handed me a tiny folded cloth dyed in indigo and said, "Now hold it in your hands and breathe into it. Let your body tell it what kind of sleep you need tonight." I was quiet for a long time, and then I breathed. When I opened my eyes, the lantern glowed softly from within. It didn't shine like a bulb or burn like a candle. It rested. Its light was like the memory of sun on a field at dusk. It made the shadows around it softer, not sharper. "This," Mari said, "is the second trick. If you want to sleep well, you must soften your world before bed. Not just your body, not just your mind. The space around you must remember stillness, too." That was the lesson of the sleep lanterns. They weren't magic jars or fancy crafts. They were reminders. Reminders to prepare for rest as if it were sacred. To let go of the day gently. To let your room feel like a cocoon, not a container. And so I made it a ritual. Each night before sleep, I'd place my lantern beside the mat where I lay. I'd breathe in its scent. I'd sip warm tea made from lemon balm and crushed ginger. I'd smooth my blanket slowly, as if tucking in the sky. I'd hum a little, Nothing specific, just a sound my chest made when it was no longer holding the weight of the day. I stopped checking clocks. I stopped fighting tiredness. I started letting sleep approach me, like a slow, soft river. The lantern was always there, glowing gently, not chasing away the dark, but welcoming it like a lullaby. If you're listening now in your own bed, I'd like to offer you a small version of that ritual. You don't need the dream salt or the clay jars. All you need is intention. Tonight, try this. Before bed, dim your lights slowly. Let your room grow darker like a sunset, not a switch. Place something cozy near you, a soft scarf, a warm mug, even just your hand resting on your chest. Close your eyes and ask yourself softly, what kind of rest do I need tonight? Then breathe that answer into the room. Maybe you need deep, dreamless sleep. Maybe you need a night full of stars and wandering thoughts. Maybe you just need to feel held. Whatever it is, let the space around you become your sleep lantern. A gentle place where nothing is rushed, where warmth lingers in the corners, where your body is not forgotten, but cherished. That's what Lomu taught me. That's what the tree whispered, and the lanterns reminded me of. That to sleep well is not to escape the world, but to trust it again. To know that even as the sky darkens, the earth holds you. That the wind is soft. That you are not alone. Not when you carry a little light inside. Not when the night becomes a blanket. Not when rest is welcomed, like an old friend returning home. And tonight, as you lay there, listening to this story from your own corner of the world, know this. Your body knows the way to sleep. You don't have to push it. You just have to listen. Breathe in. Let go. Glow softly, like a lantern that remembers the sun. And rest. Some nights feel like a warm hand holding yours. Others feel like a song being sung to your soul by the wind. Tonight's story is about that second kind. By now, you know the banyan tree. You've heard its whisper. You've felt the slow glow of the sleep lanterns. And if you've followed me this far, then your heart has already started to soften. Your body has already begun to remember how to let go. But what happens when your thoughts try to come back? What do you do when the old worries start knocking again? Right as your eyes grow heavy, right as sleep draws near. The answer, my friend, lies in the wind that dances along the river of Lomu. Let me tell you what happened on the 8th night. That evening, I couldn't sleep. Yes, even after the tree, even after the lanterns, the old patterns returned, like echoes from another life. My mind was full again, rushing thoughts, half-formed worries, memories from places that no longer mattered. I lay under my woven blanket and stared up at the thatched roof above me, counting the tiny holes in the dried leaves, listening for some kind of guidance. That's when I heard it. Not the banyan tree this time, not the hum of villagers. It was a distant, soft rustle, like fabric dragging across the surface of water. The wind, the river wind. And in that moment, something in me stirred. Not panic, not frustration, but a curiosity, like a child waking up and realizing the rain has just begun to fall. I slipped quietly from my mat, wrapped myself in a shawl, and stepped out into the night. The path to the river was familiar by now, though it felt different in the darkness. The moon hung low and wide like a sleepy guardian, casting silver across the leaves and stones. Fireflies blinked lazily, floating like sleepy thoughts with nowhere to be. I followed the sound, slow, patient, like the wind itself had time to wait for me. When I reached the riverbank, the world felt paused. The river glimmered in moonlight, barely moving. Trees leaned over its edge like old friends whispering secrets. But what I noticed most wasn't the sight, it was the feeling. The wind here didn't blow or rush. It wrapped. It felt like a blanket. Not one made of cloth, but of presence. It brushed against my cheeks, kissed the back of my neck, circled around my ankles like a cat curling into sleep. It didn't ask me to do anything. It simply held me. And in that moment, standing by the river, I realized the third trick. The one the villagers didn't teach directly. The one the banyan tree didn't say aloud. Let the wind carry your thoughts. Thoughts are like leaves, you see. Some are dry and ready to fall. Some are green and clinging, but all of them can float. I sat by the river and imagined each of my restless thoughts, one by one, as a small leaf. I didn't judge them. I didn't fight them. I simply watched as the wind lifted each one, placed it gently on the river's surface, and let it drift away. Worries about tomorrow. Leaf. That awkward thing I said yesterday. Leaf. The to-do list. Leaf. The question that has no answer. Leaf. Each one floated out of me, down the river, glowing silver under the moon. And with each one, I grew lighter, slower, sleepier. Mari later told me the villagers call that wind Elaru, the blanket wind. It only comes when the body is ready to release its final tension. They say it arrives not to fix you, not to force you into sleep, but to receive you. Like a friend opening their arms at the end of a long day. And now, whenever I lie in bed and feel my mind beginning to flutter again, I don't fight it. I just remember the river. I breathe slow, and I let the blanket wind come. I picture the leaves. I picture the water. I picture the sky above, holding me in quiet. And then I rest. Tonight, wherever you are, I want you to try something with me. Let's imagine you're standing beside that river. Not rushing, not panicking, just standing. The moon is above. The wind is here. And your thoughts? They're leaves. Now, take a slow, full breath in. And as you exhale, picture a single thought, just one, and place it gently on the water. Watch it float. Again, another breath in, and another leaf placed down. No judgment, no effort, just softness. The wind isn't here to carry you away. It's here to hold you, like a story being whispered over and over until even your thoughts grow sleepy. So now, let the wind do its work. Let your body melt into the sheets. Let your breath slow. Let the leaves fall. You don't have to fix anything right now. You don't have to be anyone but a soul being held by the night. You are beside the river. The wind has arrived. The story is still being written, but for now, you sleep. You are not alone. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right where you are meant to be, floating on your own quiet river, under a sky that has always known your name. and the wind. It's your blanket now. Sleep well, dreamer. Have you ever laid your head down and felt like your thoughts were still standing, as if the world had gone quiet, but your inner world was still bustling with to-do lists, memories, half-finished conversations? I've been there too. But in Lomu, on my 12th night under the stars, I discovered a new piece of the ancient trick. Something subtle, nearly forgotten. Something as soft as sleep itself. It wasn't a herb. It wasn't a chant. It was a pillow. But not like the ones you're used to. This pillow didn't hold your head. It held your time. Let me take you back. It was just after sunset. A light mist had rolled down from the cliffs, settling gently into the village like a breath exhaled from the sky. The banyan tree swayed just slightly in the evening breeze, its roots warm from the sun, its branches sleepy from watching over us all day. I was walking with Mari again, barefoot on the soft earth path, letting the world beneath my soles remind me to slow down. She led me to a small hut I hadn't noticed before, tucked behind flowering bushes with an old wooden door shaped like a crescent moon. Inside, everything was quiet, diamond soys, cozy. And in the middle of the room, resting on a low bench, was a collection of handmade pillows, each one stitched with soft patterns, aged fabric, and filled with something that smelled like earth and dreams. Mayari picked one up and pressed it to her cheek with a sigh. "This," she whispered, "is a time pillow." I raised my eyebrows. "Time pillow?" She nodded, smiling gently. When your mind is full of time, of minutes, of memories, of measuring, sleep cannot find space. This pillow is made to help you forget time. I was skeptical, of course, but the room was so peaceful, the air so still, the scent so warm. I couldn't resist. I knelt beside one of the pillows and laid my head down. And that's when it happened. The silence shifted. Time loosened. It's hard to explain, but the best way I can describe it is this. When I laid my head on that pillow, I didn't feel like I was going to sleep. I felt like I was returning to a place that had always been waiting for me. There was no rush. No, how long until I fall asleep? No, what time is it now? Just now. And in that now was peace. Later, Mari explained that each pillow was filled with something they called sleep moss, a rare, fragrant moss that grows only in the shadow of the banyan roots and only gathers when the moon is at its smallest. The villagers would dry the moss gently, blend it with dried wild rose and orange peel, and sew it into linen made from old ceremonial robes, fabric that had already known stillness. These pillows, she said, are made from moments, not materials. They don't fix your sleep. They remind your body of a time before time, when rest wasn't earned, but natural, when sleep wasn't an escape, it was belonging. That night, I brought one back with me. I placed it beside my head, and just before I drifted off, I made a quiet promise. Tonight, I will not chase time. I will not check the clock. I will not count how many hours I'll get. I will rest as the sky rests, as the tree rests, as the river wind rests, because my body is not a machine. It is a garden, and gardens do not bloom by schedule. They bloom when they are held, when they are safe, when they are forgotten by time. So tonight, wherever you are, I want to give you your own version of that time pillow. Here's how. As you lay your head down, tell yourself, I do not need to measure this night. Let go of counting hours. There is no too late. There is only now. Picture your pillow as something ancient, stitched not from cotton, but from quiet moments, forgotten sunrises, and the silence between heartbeats. Feel its weight beneath your head. Feel your breath slow. And with each exhale, imagine a thread of time, untangling. Because the truth is, time cannot follow you into sleep. Only presence can. Only softness. Only this breath, and then the next. There is no rush, no expectation, only surrender. You are safe here. You are soft here. You are timeless here. And soon, without even noticing, you will drift, not fall, not collapse, not vanish. You will drift like a leaf in warm wind, like a memory returning to the stars. Because tonight, you've made your own time pillow, and sleep is already arriving. There are some things we forget as we grow. Simple things. The feel of cool soil under bare feet. The hush of twilight when the world is too tired to talk. The quiet joy of doing something slowly, with no goal but peace. On my 15th night in Lomu, I learned that the trick to deeper sleep wasn't just in what you lay on, but in what you walk through before you arrive. Let me tell you about the night I left my shoes behind. The evening began like a breath exhaled slowly. A golden hush had fallen over the village. The light was soft and melted, the way honey clings to the edge of a spoon. Smoke from clay hearths spiraled upward in thin ribbons. Somewhere nearby, children laughed quietly in the distance. But in my chest, there was a weight, a quiet ache, nothing loud, just that strange tension we carry without meaning to. The kind that sits in your shoulders, the kind that lingers even when the world is gentle. Ma'ari noticed. She always did. You're still carrying the day, she said, placing a warm hand on my back. Tonight, I want you to try something. She gestured to the path beside the banyan. Walk, slowly, and leave your shoes behind. I hesitated. The ground was uneven, a little damp in places, scattered with stones and leaves and things I couldn't name. But she smiled and said one word that made it impossible to refuse. Return. And so, barefoot, I stepped onto the path. The earth was cool, cooler than I expected. A little soft from earlier rain, a little gritty from scattered sand. It tickled the arches of my feet, pulled at my focus, and slowed me down. And that was the point. As I walked, something remarkable happened. Each step took longer. Each breath grew deeper. My mind, which had been buzzing with little things, quieted. Not by force, but by feeling. There was a rhythm in the ground, a pulse in the soil. It was as though the earth itself was saying, "You're here now. That's enough." And with every step, the weight I had carried earlier dissolved. Not with effort, not with thought, but with touch. Later that night, I sat beneath the banyan again, my feet still bare, my body still humming with groundedness. Mari joined me and said, "This is the fourth trick, Seth. Before we rest, we return. Not to who we were yesterday or 10 years ago, but to the part of us that still remembers the earth. The part that sleeps easily, because it never stopped trusting the ground beneath it." She called it the ritual of bare feet, a sacred slowing, a shedding of the day, a way of telling the world, I am not running anymore, I am not proving anything, I am simply being here. And when you do that, sleep doesn't come as an escape, it comes as a reunion. So, tonight, my dear listener, I want to offer you this ritual in your own way, even if you're already tucked in bed. Try this with me now. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose and exhale longer than you think you need to. Imagine your feet, bare and warm, stepping onto cool earth. Each step is slower than the last, each breath heavier, but in the best way. Let the ground beneath your imagined feet hold you. Let it whisper, "You are here now." That is enough. And let every thought you've been carrying fall to the side like old sandals. Because sleep is not a staircase, it's a soft descent, and your feet, whether real or imagined, know the way. The trick is to trust the slowness, to let your body lead the mind, not the other way around. And soon, as you feel your legs relax, your jaw soften, your chest rise and fall like waves in a quiet bay, you'll notice you are no longer holding the day. The day has already released you, and in its place is the ancient earth, and the stars above, and the night, waiting to wrap itself around you like a warm shawl. You are already returning to the ground, to peace, to sleep. Chapter 7, The Sound That Sleeps Beside You, by Seth, from Seth's Sleep Sanctuary. There's a special kind of comfort that comes from knowing you're not alone, even when no one speaks, even when no one touches. Just the soft presence of another being, near, quiet, warm. Sometimes that's all we need to fall asleep. And on my 20th night in Lomu, I found that kind of comfort in a sound I didn't expect. A sound that didn't come from people, or wind, or river, but from something ancient and alive. A sound that didn't speak to my ears. It spoke to my nervous system. Let me tell you what it was like to sleep beside a purring cat named Njoma. You might have heard of Njoma already. She was well known in the village, though she didn't belong to anyone. She belonged to Lomu itself. A cat with fur like night velvet, eyes like warm moss, and the kind of movement that makes you feel like she knows something you've forgotten. She never let people hold her, but she chose where she slept. And on this particular night, as I lay beneath the banyan after a long day of gentle walking, lantern lighting, and cooling tea, Njoma came. Without a sound, she padded her way across the bench where I rested, paused by my side, and stared at me as if to ask, "Are you quiet enough inside yet?" I didn't speak, didn't move, just softened. And slowly, she curled beside my arm, her warm body pressing into my side, and began to purr. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of purr you feel more than hear. A soft, rhythmic vibration, like a drumbeat from another universe. It pulsed through her chest, into the wood, into my arm, into my breath. That's when I noticed it. My breath was syncing with hers. Inhale, purr. Exhale, purr. Stillness, purr. The sound wasn't just calming, it was co-regulating. A steady reminder that I could be still because she was still, that I could soften because something near me already had. Mayari told me later. That's the sixth trick. She called it the shared rhythm. It doesn't have to be a cat, she said. It can be a heartbeat, a breath, a fire crackling, or even the ticking of a calm clock. But when you sleep near something steady, your body feels less alone. It stops guarding itself. You don't need to be the strong one, she told me. Let the sound beside you do the work tonight. From that night forward, I kept something with me while I slept. Sometimes Najoma. Sometimes a small bamboo chime that swayed in the window. Sometimes a shallow bowl of water with a single stone dripping into it. A rhythm, a companion, a presence. Because here's the secret, the body doesn't always need silence to sleep. Sometimes it needs company, not conversation, not attention, just quiet, steady presence, reminding it you are not alone in the night. So, tonight, let me help you create your own shared rhythm, even if no one is in the room, even if it's just you and your breath. That's enough. Place one hand gently on your chest or your belly. Feel the rhythm beneath. Take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine a soft sound beside you. A quiet purr, a steady drum, the hum of something alive and safe. Now breathe with it. Let your breath match the rhythm, not forcefully, just like a leaf floats alongside the river's current. You don't have to lead. Tonight, let the sound beside you guide you. And if your mind begins to wander, just return to it. The purr, the breath, the quiet rhythm that asks for nothing but presence. You are not solving anything now. You are not explaining, fixing, or controlling. You are being held by sound, by presence, by stillness. And soon, so soon, your body will no longer feel like it's floating alone in space. It will feel anchored, rocked, soothed, and sleep will come not like a whisper, but like a lullaby sung beside you. Not alone, never alone. There's a moment in the night when the air feels heavier, not in weight, but in quiet. A moment when thoughts slow down, but don't yet stop. When the mind begins to flicker between the day behind and the dreams ahead. And the past begins to stir like leaves in a shallow pond. In Lomu, they called this space the in-between. And on my 23rd night, I was gently guided into that space. Not by meditation or music, but by a strange, beautiful ritual involving a pool of water, silence, and memory. It's where I learned the seventh ancient trick, to let your memories lie down beside you, not chase you. It was near midnight when Mayari woke me, not with a call, not with words, but with a touch on my shoulder, soft and certain. The moon is full tonight, she said. It's time to visit the memory pool. I had never heard of it before, but I trusted her completely by now. So I rose, draped in a shawl, and followed her silently past sleeping homes, flickering lanterns and cool earth paths kissed with dew. We walked for a while, up a gentle slope, down a narrow trail, past a row of fireflies blinking like slow thoughts. And then we arrived. There, nestled in a hollow of old stone and flowering trees, was a still pool. Not large, not deep, but glowing faintly in the moonlight as if lit from within. Mayari didn't say much, She simply gestured for me to kneel beside the edge and look into the water. And so I did. And what I saw wasn't my reflection. I saw moments. Not dramatic ones, not painful ones, just fragments of old days. My mother humming in a kitchen. The first time I saw snow. The smell of old books in my grandfather's room. A friend laughing in the dark. A window I once stared out of, wondering where I'd go. They weren't memories I was trying to remember. They were memories I had carried all along, tucked behind my ribs, soft and folded like letters never sent. And here, in this pool, they rose to the surface, not to haunt me, but to be acknowledged and rest. Ma'ari finally spoke, and her words were barely louder than the wind. Sleep comes easier when your memories are not knocking for attention. When you give them a place to lie down, they stop pacing the halls of your mind. And I understood. The memory pool wasn't about thinking. It was about releasing, letting the past stretch out beside you instead of behind you, letting your own life stories curl into softness like a cat at your feet. That night, I didn't just fall asleep. I descended, slowly, sweetly, into a feeling of deep acceptance. Not everything in my life had been perfect. Not every moment had been easy. But all of it had led me here. And as my memories rested beside me, I no longer needed to sort them. They simply became part of the bed, part of the air, part of the night. And now, dear listener, it's your turn to visit the memory pool. You don't need water. You don't need moonlight. You just need gentleness. Let's begin. Close your eyes or soften your gaze if they're already closed. Breathe in slowly and imagine kneeling beside a small, still pool. It's glowing slightly. The water is perfectly still. Now, let a single memory rise. No need to chase it. Just allow one to appear. Don't judge it. Don't change it. Don't wish it were different. Just witness it. Breathe with it. Now let another memory surface. Perhaps a happy one, or a simple one. Let it float, then drift, then rest. And now, breathe one more time, deeply, and let all those memories find stillness. Let them settle like leaves at the bottom of the pool. Let them be part of your story, not part of your weight. You don't have to forget them. You just don't need to carry them tonight. Tonight, they're resting too. Like you, like the world, like the quiet sky above us. This is the seventh ancient trick, to remember gently, to soften the grip of the past, to let your memories sleep with you, not instead of you. And as your mind quiets, as your breath evens out, as your body melts into the mattress beneath you, know that you are being held, not just by the bed, not just by the night, but by your own life, and by the peace that comes when you no longer need to hold every piece of it at once. Let it lie down beside you, and rest. They say the body keeps the score, that it holds stories long after the mind forgets. But I've also come to believe something else. The body also keeps the rhythm of peace. It remembers how to breathe like the earth breathes, slowly, steadily, kindly. All it needs is permission. On my 26th night in Lomu, I discovered this rhythm. not through effort, not through knowledge, but by doing less than I ever had before. By lying on a quiet hilltop with nothing left to fix and simply letting my breath remember. It was Mari's idea, of course. That afternoon, she had found me tending to a garden near the banyan, trying to be helpful, productive, useful. She smiled with that patient knowing of hers and said, "Seth, you've been learning how to rest, but tonight I want you to practice being breathed." I laughed gently, not quite understanding. "Being breathed?" She nodded. "You don't need to do sleep. You don't even need to do rest. Sometimes the most powerful thing is to simply allow. Let your body remember how to breathe the way it did before the world got loud." That evening, just after sunset, she led me up a soft hill just beyond the edge of the village. The ground was padded with thick moss and wild herbs, chamomile, sage, small star-shaped flowers whose names I never learned. The sky above was the deepest indigo, and the stars had already begun to scatter themselves like old lullabies. Mari laid a thin mat on the ground and gestured for me to lie down. And so I did. No music, no candle, no guiding voice, just the hill, the sky, and the breath. At first, I tried to control it. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. You know the drill, but the more I tried, the less relaxed I felt. So I stopped, and I simply asked myself silently, what would my breath do if it trusted everything? And then I followed that. It slowed, it softened, it deepened, not in volume, but in quality. It stopped trying to perform, and instead began to return. I lay there for a long time. I don't know how long. Time didn't matter. Counting didn't matter. Even thought faded. All I could feel was my chest rising like a wave and falling like a sigh. My fingers tingled. My toes disappeared into the earth. And for the first time in a long, long while, I wasn't thinking at all. I was simply being breathed. That's the 8th trick Mari taught me. Though she never called it a trick, she called it the remembering. When sleep doesn't come, she said, it's not because you've forgotten how to rest. It's because the world has made you forget that you already know how. So tonight, I'd like to help you remember. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need to allow your breath to guide you. Let's begin. Find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders relax. Let the back of your neck melt into the pillow. Take one soft breath in, through your nose if you can, not deep, just kind. Then let it go, like a leaf floating down onto water. And again, let the air enter like a welcome guest, and let it leave like a soft goodbye. No control, no counting, only remembering. Each breath is a message. It says, you are safe. You are here. You are allowed to do nothing. You are allowed to drift. And the more you listen, the more your body will remember that it was never meant to stay alert all night. It was never meant to carry so much. It was built for rhythm, built for stillness, built for returning. So now, don't reach for sleep. Let sleep come to you. Let it float in like the tide. Let it rock you like the hill rocked me. Let your breath carry you not to escape the world, but to melt back into it. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing at sleep. You are simply remembering. And remembering takes time, and kindness, and breath. One breath more, then rest. Some nights, the world tucks you in before you even touch your bed. The wind softens. The sky lowers its voice. The trees lean in a little closer. And then, the rain begins. Not loud, not hurried. Just a gentle tapping, a whispering rhythm, a lullaby played on the roof by the sky itself. This is a story about one such night. The night I finally felt what it meant to be truly watched over. Not by people, not by words, but by something older and deeper. The ancestors. It began with the rain. I was in my small room near the center of the village, an old clay dwelling with thick walls, a soft woven mat, and a thatched roof that always creaked a little when the wind passed through. I had just returned from the memory pool, carrying a sense of stillness with me. But as I lay down, something stirred in the air, not inside me, but all around. A cool wind swept through the village like a sigh, brushing the curtains. Then a single drop tapped the roof above, then another, then more. Within minutes, the thatch became a living instrument. Tap, 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 tap. The kind of rhythm you can't anticipate but somehow know in your bones. I didn't reach for a blanket. I didn't reach for thoughts. I just listened. And the rain began to tell a story. In Lomu, they say rain is not just water. It's a message, a visit. The ancestors come when it rains, Mari once told me. They don't knock. They don't announce themselves. They sit quietly in the corners and listen to your breath. That night, I believed her. Because as the rain grew steady, I began to feel something more than weather. A presence, or rather, many presences. Not in the way that makes you alert, but in the way that makes your whole body relax. The feeling that someone kind is watching over you, not judging, not interfering, just keeping you company. The light in the room was low. A single clay lantern glowed on the shelf, flickering softly, casting long, slow-moving shadows across the walls. The scent of dried lemongrass and burning kola nut filled the air. Mari had left them earlier in a small bowl near the door. The smell reminded me of my childhood. Not exactly, just the shape of it. The feeling of being safe, swaddled, small. I pulled the blanket around me, the one the village weavers had made for me by hand, and lay back on the mat. And slowly, I began to feel the air change. Not colder, not warmer, fuller. My eyes drifted half open, just for a moment, and I swear I saw them. Not with my eyes exactly, but in that quiet way you feel a person enter a room even when you're facing the wall. They were there. Figures of quiet light, shapes in the corners, echoes of breath from another time. No faces, no voices, just presence. An old woman sitting near the window. A strong figure standing by the door. A child curled beside my pillow. They weren't ghosts, they were reminders. Of love that outlived time. Of care that never required words. Of peace that was passed down, generation to generation, to me. I didn't speak. I just breathed. And with each breath, I felt them breathing too, as if we had all become part of the same quiet rhythm. The rain, the roof, my chest, their presence. And in that moment, I understood the ninth trick. Ma'ari called it the listening bed. The place where you don't just lie down to rest, but lie down to be received. In the villages, beds are sacred, not because of the wood or the mat or the blanket, but because of what they carry. The echo of everyone who has rested there before. Ma'ari once said, "We never sleep alone, Seth. Even in silence, the ones who loved us before we were born are tucking us in." And that night, I felt it, so clearly. The bed beneath me was not just holding my weight, it was remembering me. And the rain? It wasn't noise, it was a voice, saying, "You can let go now. We're here." So tonight, if you're listening to this with your eyes already heavy, I want you to imagine you're lying in that room with me. Feel the thick clay walls around you, the woven mat beneath you, the thatched roof above, soft and warm with rain. The scent of herbs lingers in the corners. The lantern glows beside you, and just outside the curtain, the ancestors are near. They say nothing, they only stay. And in their staying, they offer something sleep has always needed: permission. So, now, let the rain become your lullaby. Let it tap against your roof, even if it's only in your mind. Let each drop say, "You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone." Let the air around you feel full. Let the bed beneath you become soft memory. Let the spirits, kind, quiet, familiar, gather gently in the dark, and let your heart slow. Let your eyes soften. Let yourself be received. You are no longer waiting for rest. You are being held by it, like rain held in the belly of the earth, like memory in the folds of the night. Sleep is here, and so are they. There are some nights when you don't fall asleep. You drift, float, dot, 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 dot. Walk softly into a dream before your eyes ever close. That's how it was on my 29th night in Lomu. The sky was clear, the air cool but not cold, and a hush had settled over the village like a warm shawl. And somewhere, just beyond the hills, a quiet light waited. Not fire, not moon, but the gentle flicker of 1,000 tiny lanterns carried by wings. The firefly field. And that night, I followed them. It began with a whisper. Mari's voice outside my door just as the stars took their place. "Seth," she said, barely louder than a breeze. "It's time." She didn't have to say more. I knew. We had spoken of the field many times, but she had always told me, "You'll go when your dreams are ready to walk with you." And now, they were. I rose, wrapped in my softest cloth, and stepped out into the cool embrace of night. Ma'ari handed me a lantern, but not one filled with flame. It held a soft, glowing crystal, humming gently with stored starlight, the kind the villagers kept for special moments, dream walks, moon ceremonies, and ancestral birthdays. She gave me one look, warm, steady, and whispered, "Don't chase the fireflies. Just walk. they'll find you. And then she turned back toward the banyan, leaving me to the path. The trail curved gently up the hillside, soft with dew-damp moss and the scent of sleeping herbs, wild lavender, crushed mint, and the faint trace of lemongrass carried on the wind. Above me, the stars blinked slowly. Below, the valley was cloaked in shadows. But ahead, the first flicker, tiny, golden, suspended, then another, and then the hillside came alive. The fireflies didn't fly like insects. They floated like memories with wings. Each one pulsed softly, not all at once, not in rhythm, but with the kind of random grace that made the whole field shimmer like breathing starlight. I stood still at the edge, lantern in one hand, heart in the other, and then I stepped forward. They didn't scatter. They welcomed. One landed near my collarbone. Another hovered just above my palm. Their glow wasn't hot or even bright. It was soothing, like the quiet knowing of someone who understands your silence. And as I walked, they began to form something I didn't expect. A path. Not straight, not clear, but winding gently through the tall grass, inviting me forward. That's when the dreams began. Not full visions, not stories, just flickers, soft scenes from my own life rising with the fireflies. I saw a younger version of myself running through rain. I heard my father's voice, just a word, maybe two. I remembered a promise I'd once made to someone I loved and never kept. And then, forgiveness, not given, not asked, just present. And with each flicker of memory, another firefly rose. And with each firefly, another breath softened. I sat in the center of the field, lantern beside me, knees drawn close, and the fireflies danced around me, not for show, not for magic, but like guardians. Ma'ari once said, "The fireflies don't carry light, they carry reminders. Reminders that the night isn't empty, that the past can glow, that dreams don't have to be chased. They'll come gently if we make space." And in that moment, space was all I had, and space was all I needed. That was the 10th trick. Mari called it the dream walk. She told me later, when you can't sleep, don't fight it. Let your soul take a walk. Not far, just far enough for wonder to return. Because wonder, she said, is what tucks the spirit in. Wonder is what calls the dreams home. So tonight, wherever you are, I invite you to your own dream walk. No need to rise, no need to move. Just close your eyes and imagine a quiet hill. Tall grasses brushing your legs. A lantern in your hand, glowing softly with the warmth of your own breath. And ahead, the first firefly. Then another. And another. They don't rush you. They don't lead you. They walk beside you. Soft light. Soft thoughts. Soft steps. Let them show you something old. Let them reveal something kind. Let them whisper something you forgot you needed. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's just peace. Let it come. Let it flicker. Let it rest with you. You're not searching anymore. You're receiving sleep, receiving the glow of your own spirit, receiving the night. And as the fireflies dance around your resting body, real or imagined, know this: you are not walking alone. You never were, and you are almost home. Every journey leads to a moment when you stop walking, not because you've reached the end, but because you've arrived in yourself. That's what the elders of Lomu taught me. Sleep is not the finish line of your day. It is a return. And when you are ready, when your breath has slowed, when your heart has softened, when the weight has lifted, just a little, then you are ready for the final trick, the gentlest one of all. It happened on my last night in the village. I didn't know it was my last, but I could feel something closing. Not a door, a circle. The moon was low and orange, the color of embers. The wind had gone quiet. Even the fireflies stayed close to the trees, their lights dimmed in reverence. Mayari met me under the banyan tree, her hands wrapped in white cloth, her hair braided in long, quiet loops. She didn't speak. She simply knelt and motioned for me to do the same. Between us, she placed something small, a bundle of silk thread coiled like a sleeping snake. "This," she whispered, "is the final thread." She unrolled it slowly. The thread wasn't bright. It wasn't ornate. It was simple, soft brown, dyed with roots and riverstone, knotted at intervals with tiny seeds. The ground was padded with thick moss and wild herbs, chamomile, sage, small star-shaped flowers whose names I never learned. The sky above was the deepest indigo, and the stars had already begun to scatter themselves like old lullabies. Mari laid a thin mat on the ground and gestured for me to lie down. And so I did. No music, no candle, no guiding voice, just the hill, the sky, and the breath. At first, I tried to control it. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. You know the drill. But the more I tried, the less relaxed I felt. So I stopped. And I simply asked myself silently, what would my breath do if it trusted everything? And then I followed that. It slowed. It softened. It deepened. Not in volume, but in quality. It stopped trying to perform, and instead began to return. I lay there for a long time. I don't know how long. Time didn't matter. Counting didn't matter. Even thought faded. All I could feel was my chest rising like a wave and falling like a sigh. My fingers tingled. My toes disappeared into the earth. And for the first time in a long, long while, I wasn't thinking at all. I was simply being breathed. That's the 8th trick Mari taught me. Though she never called it a trick, she called it the remembering. When sleep doesn't come, she said, it's not because you've forgotten how to rest. It's because the world has made you forget that you already know how. So tonight, I'd like to help you remember. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need to allow your breath to guide you. Let's begin. Find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders relax. Let the back of your neck melt into the pillow. Take one soft breath in, through your nose if you can, not deep, just kind. Then let it go. like a leaf floating down onto water. And again, let the air enter like a welcome guest, and let it leave like a soft goodbye. No control, no counting, only remembering. Each breath is a message. It says, you are safe, you are here, you are allowed to do nothing, you are allowed to drift. And the more you listen, the more your body will remember that it was never meant to stay alert all night. It was never meant to carry so much. It was built for rhythm, built for stillness, built for returning. So now, don't reach for sleep. Let sleep come to you. Let it float in like the tide. Let it rock you like the hill rocked me. Let your breath carry you, not to escape the world, but to melt back into it. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing at sleep. You are simply remembering. And remembering takes time, and kindness, and breath. One breath more, then rest. Some nights, the world tucks you in before you even touch your bed. The wind softens. The sky lowers its voice. The trees lean in a little closer. And then, the rain begins. Not loud, not hurried. Just a gentle tapping, a whispering rhythm, a lullaby played on the roof by the sky itself. This is a story about one such night. The night I finally felt what it meant to be truly watched over, not by people, not by words, but by something older and deeper, the ancestors. It began with the rain. I was in my small room near the center of the village, an old clay dwelling with thick walls, a soft woven mat, and a thatched roof that always creaked a little when the wind passed through. I had just returned from the memory pool, carrying a sense of stillness with me. But as I lay down, something stirred in the air, not inside me, but all around. A cool wind swept through the village like a sigh, brushing the curtains. Then a single drop tapped the roof above, then another, then more. Within minutes, the thatch became a living instrument. Tap, 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 tap. The kind of rhythm you can't anticipate but somehow know in your bones. I didn't reach for a blanket. I didn't reach for thoughts. I just listened. And the rain began to tell a story. In Lomu, they say rain is not just water. It's a message, a visit. The ancestors come when it rains, Mari once told me. They don't knock. They don't announce themselves. They sit quietly in the corners and listen to your breath. That night, I believed her. Because as the rain grew steady, I began to feel something more than weather. A presence, or rather, many presences. Not in the way that makes you alert, but in the way that makes your whole body relax. The feeling that someone kind is watching over you, not judging, not interfering, just keeping you company. The light in the room was low. A single clay lantern glowed on the shelf, flickering softly, casting long, slow-moving shadows across the walls. The scent of dried lemongrass and burning kola nut filled the air. Mari had left them earlier in a small bowl near the door. The smell reminded me of my childhood. Not exactly, just the shape of it. The feeling of being safe, swaddled, small. I pulled the blanket around me, the one the village weavers had made for me by hand, and lay back on the mat. And slowly, I began to feel the air change. Not colder, not warmer, fuller. My eyes drifted half open, just for a moment, and I swear I saw them. Not with my eyes exactly, but in that quiet way you feel a person enter a room even when you're facing the wall. They were there. Figures of quiet light, shapes in the corners, echoes of breath from another time. No faces, no voices, just presence. An old woman sitting near the window. A strong figure standing by the door. A child curled beside my pillow. They weren't ghosts, they were reminders of love that outlived time, of care that never required words, of peace that was passed down, generation to generation, to me. I didn't speak, I just breathed, and with each breath I felt them breathing too, as if we had all become part of the same quiet rhythm. The rain, the roof, my chest, their presence, and in that moment I understood the ninth trick. Ma'ari called it the listening bed, the place where you don't just lie down to rest, but lie down to be received. In the villages, beds are sacred, not because of the wood or the mat or the blanket, but because of what they carry. The echo of everyone who has rested there before. Ma'ari once said, "We never sleep alone, Seth. Even in silence, the ones who loved us before we were born are tucking us in." And that night, I felt it. So clearly. The bed beneath me was not just holding my weight. It was remembering me. And the rain? It wasn't noise. It was a voice, saying, "You can let go now. We're here." So tonight, if you're listening to this with your eyes already heavy, I want you to imagine you're lying in that room with me. Feel the thick clay walls around you, the woven mat beneath you, the thatched roof above, soft and warm with rain. The scent of herbs lingers in the corners. The lantern glows beside you, and just outside the curtain, the ancestors are near. They say nothing, they only stay. And in their staying, they offer something sleep has always needed: permission. So, now, let the rain become your lullaby. Let it tap against your roof, even if it's only in your mind. Let each drop say, "You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone." Let the air around you feel full. Let the bed beneath you become soft memory. Let the spirits, kind, quiet, familiar, gather gently in the dark, and let your heart slow. Let your eyes soften. Let yourself be received. You are no longer waiting for rest. You are being held by it, like rain held in the belly of the earth, like memory in the folds of the night. Sleep is here, and so are they. There are some nights when you don't fall asleep. You drift, float, dot, 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 dot. Walk softly into a dream before your eyes ever close. That's how it was on my 29th night in Lomu. The sky was clear, the air cool but not cold, and a hush had settled over the village like a warm shawl. And somewhere, just beyond the hills, a quiet light waited. Not fire, not moon, but the gentle flicker of 1,000 tiny lanterns carried by wings, the firefly field. And that night, I followed them. It began with a whisper. Mari's voice outside my door just as the stars took their place. "Seth," she said, barely louder than a breeze. "It's time." She didn't have to say more. I knew. We had spoken of the field many times, but she had always told me, "You'll go when your dreams are ready to walk with you." And now, they were. I rose, wrapped in my softest cloth, and stepped out into the cool embrace of night. Ma'ari handed me a lantern, but not one filled with flame. It held a soft, glowing crystal, humming gently with stored starlight, the kind the villagers kept for special moments, dream walks, moon ceremonies, and ancestral birthdays. She gave me one look, warm, steady, and whispered, "Don't chase the fireflies. Just walk. They'll find you." And then she turned back toward the banyan, leaving me to the path. The trail curved gently up the hillside, soft with dew-damp moss and the scent of sleeping herbs, wild lavender, crushed mint, and the faint trace of lemongrass carried on the wind. Above me, the stars blinked slowly. Below, the valley was cloaked in shadows. But ahead, the first flicker, tiny, golden, suspended, then another, and then the hillside came alive. The fireflies didn't fly like insects. They floated like memories with wings. Each one pulsed softly, not all at once, not in rhythm, but with the kind of random grace that made the whole field shimmer like breathing starlight. I stood still at the edge, lantern in one hand, heart in the other, and then I stepped forward. They didn't scatter. They welcomed. One landed near my collarbone. Another hovered just above my palm. Their glow wasn't hot or even bright. It was soothing, like the quiet knowing of someone who understands your silence. And as I walked, they began to form something I didn't expect. A path. Not straight, not clear, but winding gently through the tall grass, inviting me forward. That's when the dreams began. Not full visions, not stories, just flickers, soft scenes from my own life rising with the fireflies. I saw a younger version of myself running through rain. I heard my father's voice, just a word, maybe two. I remembered a promise I'd once made to someone I loved and never kept. And then, forgiveness. Not given, not asked, just present. And with each flicker of memory, another firefly rose. And with each firefly, another breath softened. I sat in the center of the field, lantern beside me, knees drawn close, and the fireflies danced around me, not for show, not for magic, but like guardians. Ma'ari once said, "The fireflies don't carry light, they carry reminders. Reminders that the night isn't empty, that the past can glow, that dreams don't have to be chased. They'll come gently if we make space." And in that moment, space was all I had, and space was all I needed. That was the 10th trick. Mari called it the dream walk. She told me later, when you can't sleep, don't fight it. Let your soul take a walk. Not far, just far enough for wonder to return. Because wonder, she said, is what tucks the spirit in. Wonder is what calls the dreams home. So tonight, wherever you are, I invite you to your own dream walk. No need to rise, no need to move. Just close your eyes and imagine a quiet hill. Tall grasses brushing your legs. A lantern in your hand, glowing softly with the warmth of your own breath. And ahead, the first firefly. Then another. And another. They don't rush you. They don't lead you. They walk beside you. Soft light. Soft thoughts. Soft steps. Let them show you something old. Let them reveal something kind. Let them whisper something you forgot you needed. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's just peace. Let it come. Let it flicker. Let it rest with you. You're not searching anymore. You're receiving. Receiving sleep. Receiving the glow of your own spirit. Receiving the night. And as the fireflies dance around your resting body, real or imagined, know this: you are not walking alone. You never were, and you are almost home. Every journey leads to a moment when you stop walking, not because you've reached the end, but because you've arrived in yourself. That's what the elders of Lomu taught me. Sleep is not the finish line of your day. It is a return. And when you are ready, when your breath has slowed, when your heart has softened, when the weight has lifted, just a little, then you are ready for the final trick, the gentlest one of all. It happened on my last night in the village. I didn't know it was my last, but I could feel something closing. Not a door, a circle. The moon was low and orange, the color of embers. The wind had gone quiet. Even the fireflies stayed close to the trees, their lights dimmed in reverence. Mayari met me under the banyan tree, her hands wrapped in white cloth, her hair braided in long, quiet loops. She didn't speak. She simply knelt and motioned for me to do the same. Between us, she placed something small, a bundle of silk thread coiled like a sleeping snake. "This," she whispered, "is the final thread." She unrolled it slowly. The thread wasn't bright. It wasn't ornate. It was simple, soft brown, dyed with roots and riverstone, knotted at intervals with tiny seeds. That was the 15th trick. When the restless arrive, don't pull them in. Let them soften on their own. Ma'ari had told me that once. Peace is not given. It's remembered. And sometimes your stillness is their mirror. So I didn't coax Aso. I just stayed beside him, breathing slowly, drinking tea, listening to the tree. After a while, he leaned back, let out a long sigh, not a full release, but the beginning of one. "This place," he murmured, "feels like forgetting." I smiled. It's not forgetting. It's remembering what we used to be before the rush. He looked down at his cup. "Why didn't you come back for me?" And in the quietest voice, I said, "Because I couldn't carry you here. But I can sit with you now." We stayed there until the sky turned lavender, until the fireflies began to rise again, until the weight in his shoulders began to sink into the ground. He didn't sleep that night, but he lay on the mat beside mine, and I heard his breath for the first time, slow, just a little. That was enough. The beginning of remembering. So tonight, dear listener, I offer you this. There may be restless parts of you, still wandering, still pacing, still waiting to be rescued. You don't have to silence them. You don't have to fix them. Just sit with them. Invite them to the edge of your stillness. Let them soften on their own. Let your breath be the mirror they didn't know they needed. You don't have to explain. You only need to stay. Breathe. Let the restless one in you rest beside the peaceful one you're becoming. No pressure, no timeline, no demand, just space. Let the fireflies rise. Let the banyan hold you both. You are home. And now, so are they. We often think wisdom is born in silence, but sometimes it's born in the noise we barely survive. Maari, the stillest soul I had ever met, once told me that she, too, had wandered in the night, that her sleep had been lost, not once, but many times, and that the only reason she could guide others home to rest was because she had once forgotten the way herself. It was a rainy afternoon under the banyan when she told me her story. She handed me a bowl of warm plantain broth, sat across from me on a woven mat, and said softly, "Seth, do you know what it feels like to lie down and feel like your bed is made of questions?" I nodded. She smiled gently. "Then you'll understand this. It happened years ago, before I ever arrived in Lomu. Maari had just lost someone, a sister, a soul friend, a twin in heart, if not in blood. She was laughter, Maari said, and when she left, the world went quiet, but not peaceful, just hollow." She continued, "For months, I tried to sleep, not to rest, just to escape. But sleep never came. Not real sleep. She tried every remedy she knew. Lavender on the pillow, steam baths, midnight tea brewed with roots older than memory. But none of it worked, because the weight she carried wasn't in her body. It was in her spirit. And then, Maari said, I stopped trying. Not because she gave up, but because one night she walked far into the forest, barefoot, alone, and sat in the middle of a clearing with her hands in her lap and her tears in her throat. I didn't ask the forest for peace, she told me. I just asked it to keep me company while I felt the ache. And for hours she sat there, listening, crying, breathing, until something shifted, not the pain, but the space around it. The air grew soft. The wind stopped moving. The trees leaned in. And in that space, Maari didn't fall asleep. But she rested. Not in her muscles, in her sorrow. And that was the beginning. Not of forgetting, not of healing, but of allowing. Allowing pain to sit beside rest. Allowing sorrow to rock her into stillness. Allowing memory to be a lullaby, not a storm. That's when sleep returned, she said, not as an escape, but as a companion. She reached across the mat, took my hand and said, Peace doesn't mean the pain is gone. It means you've made enough room for both to sit quietly inside you. And that was the 16th trick. The room for both. So tonight, if you are carrying something, grief, fear, guilt, change, know that you don't have to put it down before you rest. You just have to make a little space beside you. Not to solve it, not to silence it, but to let it lie down too. like Mari once did, like I have done, like so many before you. Close your eyes now. Let your breath move gently. Let the weight in your heart soften just slightly. You don't have to fix anything. You just have to let it be here. Your bed is wide enough. Your breath is deep enough. Your soul is strong enough to hold rest and whatever sits beside it. Let it all settle now. Grief, hope, fatigue, memory. They are not obstacles to rest. They are part of the journey back to it. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the world fade. And as you slip beneath your blanket, know this: even Mari once wandered. And still she found sleep again. So will you. There are nights. And then there are nights. Nights where something old stirs. Not in the wind, not in the trees, but in you. The kind of night where time itself seems to pause. That was the festival of moonrest, a sacred tradition held once each season, when the moon rises full and round and white as a breath held gently in the chest of the sky. And in Lomu, when the moon reaches its peak, no one speaks past sundown. Not because of rules, but because stillness has been invited in, and everyone answers. The morning began with quiet preparation. No music, no hammering, no loud laughter. Just soft weaving, scented oils, warmed broth. Every home tied a small bundle of dream herbs, chamomile, blue vervain, lemongrass outside their door. Not to ward off spirits, but to welcome sleep like an honored guest. Children helped scatter crushed petals along the village paths. Elders stirred slow-burning incense into clay pots. Mari walked from hut to hut, whispering blessings not with words, but with her eyes. And everyone knew. This wasn't a holiday. It was a homecoming. At dusk, we gathered under the banyan tree. The lanterns were lit, but dimmed with cloth, so their light glowed softly like memories. Everyone sat in silence. The air was full of breath and belonging. And above us, the moon rose, not quickly, not grandly, just present. Hasso sat beside me. His shoulders were looser than they'd ever been. His eyes no longer searched. He didn't speak, but he didn't need to. He was listening, not to anyone else, to himself, to his own slow becoming. Ma'ari stood barefoot in the center of the courtyard. Her palms opened to the sky. Her voice, when it came, was a hush of wind on cloth. Tonight, we do not ask for dreams. We offer stillness. Tonight, we do not seek visions. We let sleep find us together. Tonight, we rest as one. Then she sat, and the village closed its eyes. That was the 17th trick. Communal stillness. There is a sleep that can only be reached in solitude, but there is also a sleep that comes from being held, quietly, by the presence of others resting beside you. It is a sleep that says, you are not alone. And so, we lay down, mats spread across the earth, children curled beside their parents, lovers wrapped in each other's breath, elders resting their backs on tree trunks. The drums didn't play. The fire didn't burn. Only the moon remained, watching, witnessing, wrapping us all in the same slow rhythm. And as I closed my eyes that night, surrounded by 100 other peaceful breaths, I didn't feel small. I felt woven into something larger than myself, something ancient, something human. Sleep came not as a whisper, but as a chorus, and I surrendered to it, not with effort, but with trust. So tonight, wherever you are, I invite you to your own quiet moon rest, even if you're alone. Because when you sleep, you join a million others closing their eyes across the world. And that, too, is a village of breath, a village of soft letting go. You are part of it. You always were. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the moon watching from above. Feel the village within you. Feel sleep arriving, not as something to earn, but something you've always belonged to. You are not resting alone. Tonight, we rest as one. There are dreams that vanish with morning, and then there are dreams that stay, not like a memory, but like a thread woven into your breath. So quiet, you might miss it, until you realize it's been carrying you gently ever since. The night of the Festival of Moonrest, I fell asleep under the banyan tree surrounded by the entire village. No one spoke. No one stirred. The moon watched, and sleep came in waves. And in that depth, when even my bones had forgotten movement, I began to dream, not alone, but with the village. It began with water, endless, still water, dark and silver, like glass turned to night, and on it floated hundreds of tiny clay lanterns, each one lit, each one glowing, each one drifting slowly toward a place I couldn't yet see. I stood at the shore barefoot, the hem of my cloth kissed by the quiet lapping of the tide, and I wasn't alone. Maari stood beside me, younger, her hair looser, her eyes open wide. Aso was there too, shoulders relaxed, arms swaying gently as if he could already hear a rhythm the rest of us hadn't yet noticed. Ko, the children, the elders, everyone. We were not ourselves, and yet we were more ourselves than we had ever been. No one spoke, but I knew what to do. We each lifted a lantern, not to light the world, but to let something go. I held mine gently. Inside, it flickered the softest blue light I'd ever seen. It had no flame, yet it glowed like breath held in warm hands. And when I leaned close, I heard a whisper inside the lantern. You no longer have to carry this. I didn't ask what this meant. I knew. A piece of worry I had forgotten was still inside me. A story I thought I'd laid down long ago. I placed the lantern on the water, watched it drift, watched the light grow smaller, softer, and felt a strange fullness rise in my chest. Not grief, not joy, just release. One by one, the others did the same. Mari's lantern carried silence. Aso's carried noise. Ko's carried a flicker of old fear. And we stood there, watching them go, not vanishing, not drowning, just floating into the space beyond words. As the last of the lanterns disappeared into the silver horizon, the dream began to shift. The water faded. The sky turned pale, and I heard a voice, one I didn't recognize, but felt I had known forever. This is how healing travels, not alone, but together, in sleep, in softness, in shared surrender. And with that, I woke. The courtyard was still. The moon was lower now, the air cooler, the village wrapped in dreams of its own. But I knew, somehow, we had all dreamed the same dream. I looked at Mari. She looked back. No words, just a nod, and the tiniest smile. That was the 18th trick, dream communion. Mari explained it later in only one sentence. When many sleep in peace together, their spirits share space, and sometimes their dreams align. It doesn't happen every night. It doesn't need to. But when it does, you wake, not just rested, but joined. Joined to something older, softer, more complete. So tonight, as you drift, know that you are not dreaming alone. Someone, somewhere, is breathing just as slowly as you are now. Their heart is matching your rhythm. Their rest is touching yours. And maybe, just maybe, your spirits will meet in that silver place where lanterns float and nothing needs to be said. Let go of needing to understand. Let go of needing to remember. Let the dream come like mist over still water. Let it carry whatever you're ready to release. You won't lose it. You'll just stop holding it. And sleep will do the rest. Close your eyes. The lanterns are waiting. Let one go tonight. Let one return to you tomorrow. But for now, let it drift. You are not alone. To be continued. Not all awakenings happen with eyes opening. Some begin in the breath, some in the heart, and some begin in the space between people, where words once lived but are no longer needed. That's how it was the morning after moonrest, the morning after the lanterns floated in the dream, the morning after the village fell asleep together, not as individuals, but as one breathing being. We did not speak, not at first, because what we had shared needed quiet to echo through. I rose just as the edge of dawn began to touch the sky. The fireflies had vanished. The moon was gone. The courtyard still smelled faintly of last night's incense, ashes of dream herbs, lemon oil, and something I can only call memory. People stirred slowly. Blankets folded. Mats were rolled. Water was fetched in calm footsteps. But no one rushed. No one called. No one asked what the dream had been, because we already knew. Ko wandered over to me, barefoot as always. He didn't say, "Good morning." He just leaned into my side and rested his head on my arm for a moment, then went to feed the chickens. Aso sat by the well with his cup, staring into the steam like it held an answer he no longer needed. Mari was sweeping the path, not hurriedly, just brushing yesterday away to make room for now. And as the sunlight warmed the tips of the trees, I noticed something else. Everyone was breathing in sync. That was the 19th trick. Sacred silence. Not the kind born of avoidance, but the kind born of fullness. When the dream is still blooming inside you, when your spirit is still listening, when the world has not yet asked you to speak, so you don't. Mayari later said, "Silence after sleep is how we protect the gift it gave us." So the village moved gently through the morning. I helped grind grain with the elders, my hands slow, my thoughts slower. Ko braided thin rope from dry bark in total peace. Children whispered games to each other, as if they knew the adults had carried something delicate through the night. And all around us was light. Not harsh, not blinding, just soft, golden proof that the world still turned. And we had turned with it. Later that morning, Ma'ari and I sat by the stream that fed the village well. We didn't speak. We simply dipped our feet into the cool current, let our hands rest in our laps, and watched a bird hop along the rocks. Eventually, she said, "You don't need to retell a dream that has already changed you." I nodded, and in that moment, I felt the deepest kind of rest. Not the rest of sleep, the rest of being enough. So tonight, dear one, if you wake from a dream or sleep without one, let the morning meet you gently. You don't need to rush into noise. You don't need to explain your night. You don't need to perform your return to the world. Try this. Sit quietly for a moment before rising. Place a hand on your chest and listen to what it says. Protect the stillness like a flickering candle. Carry it slowly into the day. You do not have to be ready for everything. You just have to be present for something. And that something is you. Sleep is not a break from life. It is part of your life. And when honored gently, it reshapes the hours that follow. So, even as you close your eyes again tonight, know this: you are not starting over. You are continuing, in rhythm, in stillness, in shared breath. Let your dreams soften you. Let your silence hold you. Let morning rise without hurry. Sometimes the student becomes a teacher, not with chalk, not with rules, but with rhythm. And sometimes the smallest one in the room is the first to remember what the world forgot. That was Ko, the boy who once sat beside me, fists clenched, eyes darting, afraid of stillness. The boy who tried to hold still like a task, who thought rest was something he had to earn. Now, he had become the stillness. It began with a circle. Ko had seen Mari and me draw one in the dust many times, just a small ring of chalk or rope, used during quiet rituals, storytelling, or shared sleep. But one morning, after the Moonrest Festival and many silent mornings, Ko drew his own. A small circle in the shaded side of the courtyard. 4 stones at the edges, a little woven mat in the middle. He didn't say what it was for. He just sat inside it and waited. At first, the other children teased. Ko's sitting in a snail shell. Is it a trap? Is that where he hides when he's tired? But he didn't respond. He just closed his eyes, rested his hands on his knees, and breathed. One breath, then another, then stillness, and something shifted. By the 3rd day, one other child joined him. By the 5th, there were 4. By the end of the week, it was called Ko's Circle. Not officially, not with signs. Just in whispers and habit, and the way little feet knew where to go when the world felt too loud. I watched from a distance at first. watched how Ko didn't try to lead, didn't correct posture, didn't explain. He just sat. And when someone fidgeted, he let them. And when someone sighed, he joined them. And when someone asked, "What are we doing?" he simply answered, "We're remembering how to breathe again." That was the 20th trick. The circle of quiet imitation. Not teaching, not preaching, just being in a way others want to mirror. Ko's circle became a daily part of the village rhythm. Not long, just 10, maybe 15 minutes. But children emerged from it softer, lighter, less prone to tears or tension. Even adults began to sit at the edges, pretending they were just watching, but slowly, breathing along. One day, Mari joined me as I watched. We stood by the herb wall, both silent for a long time. Then she said, "That boy has done what none of us could." I looked at her, surprised. "What's that?" She smiled. "He made rest contagious." So tonight, dear one, if sleep feels far away, or too quiet, or too uncertain, picture a small circle. You don't need chalk, you don't need stones. Just close your eyes, breathe slowly, and sit in your mind beside Ko. Let his rhythm become yours. Let his stillness warm the space around you. Let his presence remind you you're not alone in this. Even rest travels in circles. Try this now. Imagine Ko beside you, breathing gently. Let your breath fall into the same rhythm. No need to hold perfectly still. Just let the stillness come through you, and when your body starts to drift, don't chase it. Don't grab it. Just stay in the circle. Ko is still there, and so are you. The circle grows wider every time someone softens. Every time someone remembers sleep isn't something you do, it's something you allow. Close your eyes, breathe, and let Ko's circle hold you. Some rituals begin not with fire or drums, but with fabric, scent, and laughter held just below a whisper. It was the first rain of the new season. Not heavy, not wild. Just soft fingers tapping gently on the roof, reminding us all that quiet days had returned. In Lomu, the rains meant something more than water. They meant dreaming time, time to rest, to sit indoors, to listen, and to prepare. And for the children, it meant one thing above all else. It was time to make their first dream bundles. The tradition was simple and yet sacred. Each child, when they turned 7, created a small cloth pouch. Inside, they placed herbs, petals, seeds, and one personal item. A secret or symbol of something they wished to dream about. The bundle wasn't magic, but it was intention. It was invitation. It was a way of saying, "Dear dreams, I've made you a bed inside me." Mari handed me a basket of freshly dried herbs that morning. "Will you help today?" she asked, smiling softly. "Of course," I said, already sinking into the comfort of the task. The courtyard had been swept. Low mats placed in a circle, little jars of soft-smelling things opened and waiting. Wild mint, crushed rose, slivers of cinnamon bark, dried orange peel. The children arrived in pairs, their feet bare, their eyes bright. Ko sat among them now, not as a guest, but as one of the guides, and I realized, again, how far he had come. Each child was given a square of cloth, dyed in soft earth tones, some with tiny patterns. Mayari showed them how to fold the edges inward, then tie the corners with thin twine dipped in lemon balm. But before they tied their pouches, they paused. "Breathe into it," she said. "Not fast, not forced, just one breath from your heart." The children closed their eyes, and in that silence, I felt something ancient settle over the space. A hush not of rules, but of reverence. Even the sky grew quieter, the rain softening into a misty murmur on the leaves. The children filled their bundles slowly. A bit of mint for calming thoughts, lavender for soft dreams, ginger root for courage inside their sleep. Some added feathers, some small carved beads. One child, a boy named Eku, placed in a smooth pebble he'd carried in his pocket for months. He didn't explain why. No one asked. That was the beauty of dream bundles. They didn't need to be understood, only felt. When the last string was tied and the last cloth folded, we gathered the children in a loose circle. Ma'ari placed a hand over her heart. "This is your gift to sleep," she said. "Keep it near, not because it will make you dream, but because it reminds your body you are ready to be visited." And the children nodded, holding their bundles like something alive. That was the 21st trick. Preparation, not persuasion. We don't force dreams. We don't beg rest. We make space for them tenderly, and space is what draws them in. So tonight, my dear listener, whether you are 7 or 70, I invite you to make your own dream bundle, not with cloth or herbs unless you wish, but with intention. Before sleep, close your eyes. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your belly. Take one soft breath, and in your mind, gather a few things to place inside your bundle. A memory that makes you smile, a hope that asks nothing in return, a feeling of safety from long ago, and one thing you wish to dream about. Hold them gently in your breath. Tie them with stillness. Place them beside your heart, and rest. You don't have to dream vividly. You don't have to dream at all. But tonight, your body will know. A space has been made. A welcome has been whispered. And that is enough. Close your eyes now. Let the rain fall softly. Let the bundle glow quietly within you. Sleep well. Even the wisest among us forget, sometimes, how to rest. Even those who carry others through the night can feel weight settle in their chest and silence that does not soothe. And even in Lomu, where stillness breathes in the walls and peace grows like a wild herb, there are nights when someone you thought could never falter simply cannot sleep. That night, it was Mari. The day had been cool and silver. Rain had whispered over the rooftops, and the village had moved gently inside, sorting herbs, mending blankets, humming lullabies to themselves more than to anyone else. Evening came quietly. The air smelled of roasted yam, citrus wood smoke, and distant thunder. But I noticed Mari was not moving like herself. Not slower, not ill, just elsewhere. She didn't sit at the banyan, didn't light her oil lamp, didn't greet the night with her usual whisper, "You're welcome here, darkness." Instead, I found her sitting upright on her mat long after everyone had gone to sleep. Back straight, eyes open, hands folded too tightly. The glow from the hearth danced across her face, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked tired in a way I didn't recognize. Not body tired, spirit tired. I approached quietly, kneeling beside her, not saying anything. She didn't look at me. She didn't need to. Finally, she whispered, "It's strange, Seth. I've walked others to sleep for years, but tonight I can't find the path myself." Her voice didn't tremble, but it carried a kind of loneliness only those who have given too much will understand. I didn't offer advice, didn't speak of tricks or breath. Instead, I asked, "May I sit with you, just as you once sat with me?" She nodded, and so we sat. That was the 20-second trick. Companionship without correction. To rest beside someone, not to lead them, but to remind them they don't have to lead either. After some time, I placed a warm cloth in her hands, infused with basil, wild mint, and eucalyptus. She pressed it gently to her face and sighed. A slow, quiet sigh. The kind that signals a wall has begun to lower, if only slightly. Then I whispered, "Would you like me to tell you the story you once told me?" She opened her eyes just enough to meet mine, and I began. I told her about the memory pool, about Ko's circle, about the first time I slept beneath the banyan and heard its breath. She had lived those stories, but now she needed to receive them. Like a lullaby once sung now being hummed back to the singer. As I spoke, her breathing changed, from held to slow, to slower. Her hands released their grip. Her shoulders fell. Her eyes closed, not in surrender, but in being seen. And after a while, she slept. I didn't leave. I sat there beside her for a long time, watching the fire fade to embers. And in that glow, I realized something beautiful. Sleep is not something we master. It's something we share. A gift passed gently between souls, when words fall away and presence remains. So tonight, if sleep feels far, don't reach for solutions. Reach for presence. Even if no one is with you, imagine someone sitting beside you. Not fixing, not leading, just being. Try this. Picture yourself seated under a quiet roof, a hand-warmed cloth in your lap. Imagine the voice of someone who once gave you peace, now softly returning it to you. Let your breath match theirs. Let your silence become shared. You do not have to rest alone. Even if the room is quiet, you are accompanied. Close your eyes now. Let Mari's breath guide yours. Let your tired parts be witnessed. Let your spirit tiredness be held, not solved. Let the fire fade. Let the quiet deepen. And when you finally sleep, know this. You are the guide. You are the guided. You are not forgotten. And now, the story rests. The banyan tree sways gently in the night breeze. The dream bundles lie folded and safe. The children sleep. Mari sleeps. Even the fireflies have dimmed their glow. And you, dear friend, you've come such a long way. You've walked with me through silence and breath, through memory and stillness, through the quiet teachings of peace passed hand to hand, heart to heart. You've learned, as I did, that rest is not something we chase. It is something we come home to, again, and again, and again. So tonight, wherever you are, may your bed feel like a soft circle of safety. May your breath be slow and warm. May your thoughts quiet themselves without needing permission. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to finish everything. You don't even need to fall asleep quickly. You only need to begin the return to yourself. And trust that sleep will meet you on the way. From my heart to yours, thank you for joining me on this journey. May your dreams be light. May your waking be gentle. And may you always know that you are not alone in the night. Good rest, good sleep, and good night. From Seth at Seth's Sleep Sanctuary.